welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to show you a simple way to mask using freezer paper. It's a really useful way to add especially borders. Here's some examples so you know where we're headed. I'm working specifically with botanicals, and here's an example, but you could use this when you're painting. You can use it for lots of applications. I've used it on fabric when I printed fabric, so it's pretty versatile. What we're going to do is to mask off this whole center area, and that's how we're going to protect it so that we can add the printing that goes around, in this case, around the edges of the print. Here's another example. Same thing. I mask out these leaves and the center image so that I could add the printing around the outside edges. One more example, this with gold leaf. This is a really pretty one. Basically the same thing. Mask out the entire square, mask out the leaf forms that are sticking over the edges here, and then add the gold leaf. One more, a little bit different approach. In this case, I masked out this part of the poinsettia so that I could add this gold leaf disc, my little moon, so that it looks as though it's tucked behind the foliage instead of sitting right on top of it. So let me show you how I do it. In case you're not familiar with freezer paper, you get it at the grocery store, it comes on a roll. Literally, it's supposed to be used to put things in the freezer, but I never use it that way. It has a plastic film on one side, and I'm going to cut this freezer paper roughly the size of the small print that I intend to mask. Now you can see how it curls up, and that can be sort of a pain. So here's a trick. Before you start doing your drawing and your cutting, use your iron and iron the freezer paper flat. Now you see it has now stuck to my tablecloth or my drop cloth, but when I peel it off it's flat, and that makes it easier to actually work with it. Now I'm going to mask this small print, and I'm going to mask out these leaves, this little bit of fluffy stuff that's sticking out of the edge here, and I'm going to mask it so that only the pink edge is exposed, and then later I'll add gold leaf to it. It's a little hard to see through the freezer paper, so I work by lifting the corner, and I can see that it goes to that spot right there, so I draw that in. And then there's a little leaf right here, I draw that in. Across to here, you can see that leaf. And I think now I've got a long straight shot right here and straight shot to right there. If you have trouble drawing straight lines, you can always use a ruler. This leaf comes down like that. There's a leaf like that down that edge. So I'll go all the way around the entire shape. Okay, so once I've got it completely outlined, I'm going to get my scissors and I'm going to cut out this shape, and then I'll be ready to use it as a mask. So let me grab the scissors and I'll do that right now. Okay, got my mask cut. Now I'm going to position it so that I can get ready to do my embellishment around the edges of this print. I'm going to need the iron again, so move the cutting mat out of the way. Did you know if you iron on a cutting mat like this, you'll ruin it? Another little tip that's important to know. And you can't even drive the car over it later to flatten it out, it won't work. So I'm going to position this just like this, and then I'm going to take the iron, and this is pretty important to know. You're only just ironing down a little bit. You don't go over the whole thing over and over again, because you might never get the mask off, okay? You're just hitting it a little bit. Well, now it's kind of off kilter. See, that's a beautiful thing. You can pick it up and reposition. It's still off a little bit right here, and if that happens, then I can improvise by cutting a couple of extra strips. So you can see it's very forgiving. You don't have to be perfect in order for it to work. I'm going to just cover up that little bit right there too. Okay, I decided that I would add a painted border with my thermofax screen. You can find out more in that introductory video that I have on thermofax screens, but essentially it's a little form of a silk screen. And it looks like this. It's flat. You push the paint through the surface, and that's how you get your print. This is just a kind of a loose overall floral that'll work with the print I have here. If you didn't have a thermofax or some other kind of a screen, I could use a stencil and stencil in the pattern around the edge. Or if I wanted if I just wanted a plain painted background, I could hand paint it with a brush. I could use rubber stamps. So there are lots of ways to get the patterning on the piece once you've got it masked like I do. Now, I'm going to mix the color that I print here because this is a little too pink and this is a little too yellow. So I'm going to pour just a little paint out and we'll have a little painting lesson in addition to learning to mask. A lot of the time, colors that you need aren't the right color straight from the bottle, even when there are lots of colors in the paint line. I love to set of color paints, but I almost always have to do a little custom work on the color. Now that's a really pretty color. I think that'll be nice. Got orange faster than I thought it would. Let me add a little bit more of the fuchsia. Really highly pigmented. They're really nice paints to work with. And as you can see, even though we usually think of them as textile paints, we can use them on paper too. The screen is exactly the right size to fill the entire frame, which is great. And I have the advantage, which I didn't plan, it's just great serendipity. I've got lines on this sheet on my drop cloth here, so I'll be able to see exactly where to position the print when I move it down here to print the bottom of it based on where those lines are. So I'm going to put it in place and put paint up here. I might need more paint. And then I'm going to pull it across with a squeegee like this. I want to make sure I get enough paint to completely fill that in. And this is a common issue, needing to quick mix up some more paint. Oh, and you know what we can do though? Let's just mix these two together and we'll blend it. That'll be fun. Okay, then we pick up the screen and we move it down here and I align it with those lines that I can see, and I'm just going to pour it on like this and go for it in order to finish it up. I have a little spot I missed right there. You can see it's pretty forgiving. And once I have the printing done, then I can pull the mask off real carefully. And there we have it. These textile paints dry a little bit lighter. I know that from working with them. But I like the contrast that it's created. And the next step on this particular print will be to go back into these leaves and hand color them and pop up the green a little bit. So it should be a really nice balance by the time it's finished. If this mask dried out, I could use it again, but frankly, I probably won't add any more to the border of this particular print, and so this becomes something that you can recycle. So if you've enjoyed this video, I hope that you will subscribe, because there are plenty more coming. We're doing one a week until the end of the year. And if you've got any questions, leave them down below and I'll be sure to answer them for you. And I'm going to color in these leaves. Maybe I'll even add a little bit of gold leaf. It's calling gold leaf to me now. So follow me on Instagram, and when I get it finished, you'll be able to see it there. Thanks for being here today.